comments. Representative Harmon from Winston-Salem will then speak. Superintendent Decos from the Durham Public Schools will then be talking, and we will conclude with comments from the State Superintendent of Public Education, June Atkinson. We have with us a number of school board members, superintendents, and other members of all of the education groups in the state. The House bill that will be filed today contains the following provisions. First, the bill would eliminate the cap of 100 charter schools. Second, it would create the North Carolina Charter School Commission with constitutionally mandated oversight by the State Board of Education. Third, the bill is designed to allow and to add to academic accountability for charter schools and to create clearer guidance of what's expected. It also creates provisions that will impose strict teacher certification requirements for low-performing charters, bar charter schools from hiring or employing a faculty member whose certification has been revoked. It will maintain a minimum number of students to accredit a charter school. It will allow charter schools to grow as requested in their charter and as authorized, among other things in this bill. And now let's talk a little bit about why the bill is necessary. In terms of Senate Bill 8, rarely has a bill passed from one body to the other so torn from its moorings and so lit up with every provision a singular special interest group has sought at public expense. Senate Bill 8 is in effect, in our view, unamendable. No amount of minimalist massaging can make the bill any better or change its dominant character, which is, quite frankly, in combination with House Bill 41, an assault on public schools. Senate Bill 8 is, in a lot of our opinions, a voucher wrapped up in a charter, and its goal is not to improve public education, but to abandon it. I want to quote a fairly extensive quote and paraphrase from Diane Ravitch in a book that came out last year as a national bestseller, The Death and Life of the Great American School System. She was, as you know, the former Assistant Secretary of Education under President Bush. Lost, it seems, was the original vision of charter schools, in which they were supposed to help solve some of the hardest problems of public education. As originally imagined, charters were intended not to compete with public schools, but to support them. Charters were supposed to be research and development laboratories for discovering better ways of educating hard-to-educate children. And they were not intended to siphon away the most motivated students and families in the poorest communities, but to address some of public education's most urgent problems. Under Senate Bill 8, charters are instead supposed to disseminate the free market model of competition and choice, and to compete for the most successful students in the poorest communities, or they were under models that would accept all applicants and push the low performers back into the traditional public school system. Either approach, as suggested under Senate Bill 8, would further disable regular public schools in those communities by leaving the lowest performing and least motivated students in traditional public schools. It matters not that the original proponents of charter schools had different goals in mind. It does matter, though, that charter schools under Senate Bill 8 would become a force intended to disrupt traditional notions of public schooling. The rhetoric of many charter school advocates has come, unfortunately, to sound uncannily similar to voucher proponents. They often sound as if they want public schools to fail. We don't. If there is one consistent lesson in studying school reform over the generations, it is the danger of taking a very good idea like charter schools and expanding it rapidly and spreading it too thin. And what is stunningly successful in a small setting, nurtured by founders and brought to life by a cadre of passionate, dedicated, competent teachers, seldom survives the transition when it is turned into a large-scale reform. Letting 1,000 flowers bloom does not guarantee a garden full of flowers if the garden is left untended, unsupervised, and unregulated. Instead, it is likely to be overgrown with weeds. All of us who are standing here are about improving and reforming the public schools of North Carolina. They are the one institution that unifies the United States as one nation under one flag with a common set of values. The United States system of public education has produced more Nobel Prize winners, more inventors, more engineers, more artists, more literary geniuses than any singular educational system in the history of the world. And so as we reform the public schools and modernize them, we must take care to do no harm. To the extent the bill today would strengthen public schools by returning to the purpose of charters and increasing access to them, we strengthen North Carolina and we strengthen our democracy. But our bill also understands that there is no silver bullet, no panacea to improving public schools. Nothing will replace time and attention and love to give to students by caring and highly competent and dedicated professionals. Accountable, innovative charters will help, but Senate Bill 8 suggests they are the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and that singular treasure does not exist, and the notion it does inflicts serious harm on public education. Our intent today with this bill is to rationally, reasonably, and realistically lift the cap on charters, enhance their accountability, and incrementally improve public education in the process. And now I turn the podium over to Representative Arjun Department of Winston-Salem.